UAE citizens can now get dual citizenship, but is this really a good deal? Non-Emiratis can obtain Emirati citizenship for the first time in a new process set up by Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid on Saturday. Legal changes also mean a person can retain their original nationality, allowing them to become dual citizens. Now, I'm going to highlight some things in this article that came out and tell you the fallbacks or the flaws that you're going to have on this. And you have to make a decision if this is really a pathway you want to take. The new rules don't provide people with a path to apply for citizenship. This is the big part that's not real clear on this. But you can retain your original nationality, allowing a person to become a dual citizen. Citizenship is difficult to obtain in the Gulf and is not traditionally offered to foreigners. The ruler of Dubai stated that they had adopted amendments that would allow granting of the UAE citizenship to investors, specialized talent, professionals including scientists, doctors, engineers, artists, authors, and their families. The new directives aim to attract talents that contribute to the development journey in the UAE. Now, in this video, I'm going to explain to you if you're going to go to the UAE for the sole purpose of getting the second passport and citizenship based on this new change, I think you're going to be sadly disappointed, and I'll explain to you why. Also, if you're making at least 150,000 US dollars a year and or you have a net worth of at least $1 million US and you want to legally get your taxes to zero, how to get a second passport as quick as 3 months, do 3 things. Hit the subscribe button on the right of your screen here and you'll get new videos as they come out automatically. And I would like to hear from you if you got a question or comment. Just put it below and I'll get with you. And also number 3 is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. Okay, now instead, skilled professionals would be nominated by the government or royal court officials. This includes the cabinet, the executive council in each of the 7 emirates, the ruler courts, and also the crown princes. The government is yet to set out how the nominees would be identified. This is one of the vague parts of this whole thing. People eligible for nomination include investors, individuals with specific or specialist professions, such as doctors or scientists, as well as artists and other talented or creative people. The changes to the law allow the families, the spouse, and the children of those eligible to receive citizenship. Family members may also retain their current nationality. Now, the UAE cabinet brought in the change following an order from President Sheikh Khalifa with the aim of attracting and retaining intelligent specialist individuals who would enrich the UAE society and help progress the country's development. He stated that they had adopted law amendments that would allow granting the UAE citizenship to investors, specialized talents, professionals, including the scientists, doctors, engineers, artists, authors, and their families. Sheikh Mohammed, Vice President and Prime Minister and ruler of Dubai, had stated on Saturday. Now, the UAE cabinet, local Emirati courts, and executive councils will nominate those eligible for citizenship under clear criteria set for each category. The law allows receivers of the UAE passport to keep their existing citizenship. The decision is in part of a wider move from the government to retain exceptional workers and foreign investors, allowing people to establish deeper roots in the country and the nation to benefit from their expertise. All right, now, who's eligible for this Emirati citizenship? All right, now, Saturday's changes in law outline several different categories of eligible individuals. Each category has different conditions. Investors must own property in the UAE. Doctors and specialists must be specialists in a unique scientific field or one that is deemed high priority by the Emirates. The individual must have made important contributions or conducted significant studies and research. They also must have no less than 10 years experience in addition to membership to prestigious groups and organizations in their field. Scientists must be active researchers at a university or a private research center. They must also have a minimum of 10 years experience and must have made contributions to their field by obtaining an international award or a research grant. To be eligible, this is the key, eligible doesn't mean you're going to get the passport. eligible for the citizenship. They must also be recommended by internationally recognized bodies. So remember, you're going to have to be appointed, and you're going to have to be, this is not anywhere near a clear-cut path to getting a citizenship. It goes on to state that talented individuals must have patented inventions registered by the Ministry of Economy and Commerce or any internationally recognized organization. They should also submit a letter of recommendation from the ministry. Now remember, even if you have these patents, these talents, it doesn't mean you're going to get the passport. This is where a lot of people are getting confused. They think they have this talent, they're automatically going to get the passport. That's not the case. You're still stuck to the 30-year period of residency, which I'm going to go through in a minute with you. Intellectuals, artists, and creatives must have one or more intellectual awards in their field and a recommendation letter from the government institution of their field. All right, now, foreigners may be naturalized and granted citizenship, but the process is limited due to the declining share of Emirati population and fears of national identity loss. This is actually, this was pulled up in Wikipedia, explaining the nationality law. I'm actually getting into the law itself and what the law states, so you'll understand, what are the chances of getting this. Gulf Cooperation Council, citizens except Qatar are allowed to live in the UAE without restriction and have the right of freedom of movement. All right, now I'm going to go through the marriage option, because this is another option too while I'm on this. So just to give you other ways you can do it. Marriage, a foreign woman married to a Emirati national may acquire citizenship provided the marriage lasts for at least 7 years with the condition of having at least one child, or 10 years in the absence of children. The wife of a naturalized male citizen may also acquire Emirati citizenship. All right, now let's go through the naturalization process, because this is the way most people are going to probably come into this, and this is probably the way you're interested. And this is the way this new system that's coming up is going to work. Naturalization is limited due to fears of loss of Emirati national identity and conservative culture, which are both considered under threat due to foreigners outnumber native Emirati people 11-1. Nationality is granted to a foreigner if he or she fulfills the following conditions, and they are an Arab with ancestral origins to or in Bahrain, Oman, Qatar, or has been legally settled in the UAE for at least 3 years and has maintained a good reputation, has not been convicted of any sort of crime. Another requirement is an Arab individual who enjoys full capacity or full legal capacity, is continuously and lawfully residing in the member emirates for at least 7 years at the date of submitting a naturalization application. Its lawful source of income is of good reputation and good conduct, and is not convicted of any offense involving moral turpitude or dishonesty. Another requirement is it would be any person with Arabic proficiency who has been legally settled in the UAE since 1940 and has maintained a good reputation and has not been convicted of a crime. Well, you'd have to be 100 years old to not 100, but you'd have to be around 80 years old to actually qualify under that option. Any person with Arabic proficiency has been legally settled in the UAE for no less than 30 years with at least 20 years spent after the elective date of 1972 law and has maintained a good reputation and has not been convicted of a crime. This is the clause you need to look at, because most people that come in with this specialized thing that they think they've got that's going to get them citizenship maybe quickly are going to be sadly disappointed, and they're going to fall in under that clause. Okay? Now, and remember that you're going to have to get the citizenship, and at least it's going to take at least 30 years, but that's where you can apply. It doesn't mean you're going to get the passport. This is the key right there. The residency requirements for Emirati citizenship, may be waived if you, by decree from the UAE president, okay? Now, in other words, this new thing that they're coming up with is already in the law, okay? Because the president can waiver in these time requirements. Another option, too, is where the citizenship or the residency requirement may be waived is to any person who renders honorable service to the UAE. In other words, any person who wishes to apply for naturalization has to be proficient also in the Arabic language has a legal source of income and has been in continuous residence in the UAE, and also has an academic qualification and does not have a bad reputation and has not been convicted of any crime. A person convicted for a misdemeanor or dishonesty may apply for the condition of fulfilling recooperation or rehabilitation. A wife of an Emirati national does not need to have an academic qualification to be eligible for naturalization. All right, now a person can lose his citizenship if he decides, if he resides outside the UAE without a valid reason for over 4 consecutive years. Now that is real vague. I've never seen any citizenship act that has that. In other words, where you're outside the country for 4 years, you can lose your passport and citizenship. This is, to me, and what do they constitute as a valid reason? To me, that's a wacko clause. Anyway, I'm going to give you my evaluation of this program, and it is as follows. If you're going to if you're going to the UAE because of the passport, and that's a top priority, don't go to the UAE because of the following negatives I'm going to give you here. And one of them is most countries do not grant their citizenship and passport in the statutory time period the law states. And the UAE states this time period is 30 years before you can even apply to get the passport. And there's no guarantee you're going to get even at that option. Now, I did give you some exceptions if you get married to an Emirati. There are also other exemptions too, which I didn't go into, dealing with children born from an Emirati family. But most people are going to, we're basically talking about naturalization because that's what most people are going to follow that are interested in this new legislation. But the new allowance of dual citizenship has to be by naturalization purposes, and you have to have an exceptional skill or large investment as stated previously, and the definition of how good you have to be in that given field is not totally defined. This is going to guarantee that you're going to get that passport, including the amount that you would have to invest. And then only then would you possibly be eligible to be selected to get the dual citizenship in the UAE. In other words, getting the second passport would be like jumping over the Empire State Building unless you're Tiger Woods or Roger Federer. This is the way I look at it. There is no definite guideline of how good you have to be. That's the big thing that really gets me floored on this whole thing. And if you don't have any sort of definite guideline on how good your expertise has to be, where you're going to know for sure if you're going to get the passport before the 30-year residency period has been completed, and even then after 30 years, there's no guarantee you're going to get the passport. Also, you're going to have to be pretty fluent in Arabic, which is a complicated language to learn if you're not already, if you don't already know it. My advice would be to take a course in Arabic if you're thinking about doing this before you do an international move, and find out if this is too complicated for you to learn. Because if that's a problem, don't even step for square two. I mean, this is something you're going to have to look at there. Also, if you leave the country for more than 4 years, you can be stripped of your citizenship. Man, I don't like that at all. What the UAE needs to do is come out with a definite amount of money that you need to invest with a short stated period of time. Let's say 5 years. If you've got this extraordinary talent, where then you can apply for the passport as long as you don't have any sort of civil or criminal problems. And they don't have this in the law now. Until they get that put in the law, this is like a shot in the dark. The question I would have is, why would you want to get involved in a residency program where you're going to have to basically do a shot in the dark type thing where you're going in thinking that maybe you have the qualifications, but you don't have them. And it takes you 30 years and you're still waiting to try to find out. And then even when you apply for the passport, you still can't get it. This is the thing that I have that's a real problem with this whole thing. And if you're thinking about moving to the UAE and you want to take a chance on this, fine. But my opinion is, unless they come out with clear, defined things. In fact, if I was talking to the government, I would say if you really want to take the negatives out, put specific guidelines that where they're definitely going to get the passport, or at least definitely be able to apply, okay, and not be selected. Okay, they can apply for the passport, and And they can do this after a 5-year period. Anyway, if you want to learn more how to legally get your taxes to zero, how to get a second passport as quick as 3 or 4 months, and this is the way I would advise you to go, is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, hit the top bar that says apply with us, fill out the questions, hit that bottom bar that says send it to us. We'll get back with you. And also, I'd like to hear from you. If you'll hit the subscribe button, you'll get new videos automatically as they come out. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. And I look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.